Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks. Nice to be here. I had my double lung transplant 3 years ago on April 18th, so I'm 3 years old. And I've been doing great ever since. There's a lot of obstacles with transplant, but as I said in the video, I can breathe now, and life is good. I'm enjoying life. I still have CF, but my life is not really about CF. It's about me being strong-minded, strong-willed, and just pushing through. And that's seriously something that I really believe in life. And I gained a lot of that from my parents, and my dad used to always say, "You cannot fail." And I just kind of put that mantra in my mind, and I kind of go through life and just keep pushing ahead. I believe about that whole "you cannot fail," that, we all have obstacles in life, but no matter what they are, that you just got to believe that you cannot fail, that you're the hero of your own story, and just keep pushing through. It's not just about CF. People have a lot of emotional issues, cancer, health issues, family issues, but you just really need to believe in yourself and keep trying to push forward and live in the forward. I'd like to thank the Bonnell Foundation, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, the Boomer Esiason Foundation, and obviously the CF community. It's an honor to be here tonight to speak to all of you. Thank you very much. So a little bit about me growing up. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I have 4 brothers, 1 sister. I'm the only one with cystic fibrosis. I went to the University of Connecticut. Back then it was an issue about going away to school with CF and whatnot. But I did it, and I had a great experience at college. Back then, it wasn't, I had a roommate in school, so it wasn't like I had my own bedroom, own dorm room. But life was really good. I pole vaulted. I pole vaulted on the varsity track and field team. I pole vaulted, my best was 16.4, which I did actually after college. Then from college, I went into the apparel industry. I worked in the apparel industry for 20-something years, longer. I'm old now, 58. Anyway, I worked in the apparel industry. It did quite well in that. I used to travel all the time. When I was sick, I'd travel with my IVs to make these great little bubbles, intermates, and I would just travel around. And as I said, I didn't let CF stop me. I wasn't reckless. I was very compliant, probably most compliant than a lot of the people out there. But I was really compliant also because I wanted to live life and enjoy life. And if I was getting sick, it was really I was not a happy camper. Especially back then, there was no home IV, there was no ports or PICC lines. There were little metal butterflies, that was your IV, and they would break when you were in the hospital, probably at least twice a day. And you'd walk around with it. You don't want to move it, anybody touch your hand. So it was quite a different experience. Back then in the hospital, I don't know if you ever saw that movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but it was kind of similar to that in a lot of ways. I mean, we had patients, well, I was one of them, but patients in the hospital, these young boys and girls were 10 years old, that they were putting their own IVs in because the nurses couldn't find the veins, so they were doing it themselves. We shared rooms, and I shared rooms with other people with CF back then, and I call it the dark ages. So it was quite different growing up then and now. I'm very involved in coaching. I coach track and field. I specialize in the pole vault. So that's what I do now also. I'm on disability right now, so really for me it's about reinventing yourself. That's how I ended up at the Boomer Esiason Foundation. To be honest with you, I was never involved in the world of CF until I went to the Boomer Esiason Foundation. And when I went there, I remember speaking to Boomer and another gentleman, Dave, the president, about, well, just get yourself familiar with things, and I didn't even know where to begin. So they said, well, just Google cystic fibrosis, and the first thing I came up was with the breathing room. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with the breathing room, but there's a lot of these artistic people with CF. Some of them were sitting in tubs with syringes all around them, so it was a little bit daunting to me. But I started working at the foundation. We do a lot of great things. We give money to Research for a Cure to Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. But Boomer believes in giving back to people with CF in the here and now as we await a cure. So in 2014, we gave over $500,000 away in scholarships. We have various scholarship programs. We do a lot of educational programs. CF podcast, CF Wind Sprints, You Cannot Fail. We have a True Heroes program now. We have a Jump the Fear program. So we do a lot of educational videos, podcasts, audio. We now have books, so help yourself to books. They're, inspiring and educational. They're yours, so please help yourself. So the world of CF then and now, as I said, I'll tell you a few things. Well, I grew up in the dark ages with CF. I was diagnosed at 10, I think it was, or 11. But they told my parents, you're lucky if your son makes it till the 16th birthday. And really what they wanted to do, they said, just keep Jerry comfortable at home. My mom, as I said, she wanted to just keep me at home and comfortable. My dad was very athletic. I have 3 older brothers that were very athletic, so my dad said, well, if he's not going to be around, put him with his brothers, and he's going to play sports. So first of all, I hated sports back then because I was not very good. So again, and I was a little CFer, and my old brother right above me was 2 years older than me. So I should have been on. I have a lot of mental blocks with some sports right now. I asked Chris about some of the sports now, but I got very involved in track. But the point being is, I should have been on like the little Pee-wee league, but my father wanted me to be with my brothers, so I was put on their team. So these are all big guys, and we started off with baseball. And I didn't like the game because I couldn't hit the ball, and I was little, and I played right field. Now back then, I'm not sure if it's changed, but playing right field was like being left out of the game. Nobody hit the ball out there. So I would be out in the field, and I just would pray that please that ball do not come out toward me. And sometimes it did. I would just put up my glove, and the ball went over my head, and I would run, get the ball, and throw it. I couldn't even get it all the way in. And I would sit the furthest away from the coach. But my dad would show up. And when my dad would show up, he had this little thing. He knew the coaches really well. He'd give the coach a little nod. So when my father would show up, all I would do was look at my father. I wasn't even paying attention to the game. My brother would be in there, hitting home runs and stuff. And I would then just pray that he wouldn't hit any more home runs so we wouldn't get to the point where we were 10 points ahead, and then I would have to go in and play. My father would show up, and if that was going on, I would have to go in and play. And the coach would yell, Cahill, and I would just ignore him. Cahill, Jerry, get in there. So I would go in and play. So what really made me hate the game, though, is there was a wild pitcher up one day, and all the kids were like, oh, he's a wild pitcher, he's crazy. Now, I was little to begin with, and I used to stand 3 feet away from home plate and just crouch down really low, so I figured this is not going to be a problem. All I could hope for was a walk. All I wanted to get is to get a walk, so I'm like, here I am, I'm on base, okay? So this guy, here's a wild pitcher. My father's there giving the nod to the coach, so I go in and play, and I was up at bat. So I figured, well, I'm going to stand 5 feet away from home plate. I'm not getting hit with a ball. The pitch comes down, smacks me in the eye. This was a hard ball, this wasn't softball. So we go to the emergency room. My father, my mother shows up, my grandfather shows up. My eye was swollen out there. All I kept repeating was like a mantra, I'm never playing this sport again. I'm never playing this sport again. So my father said, all right, we'll finish off the season. That's the proper thing to do. So that was baseball. We then go to football, which was worse. So my father said, you're going to play football, you be with your brothers. Now, unbeknownst to all of us at the time, all this sports stuff was the best thing for me because it was keeping my lungs clear. I was running around and I felt good. It really was not about CF. I mean, I did my medications and did what I had to do. We went to play then football. Now my brother, we played in this league, Newt Rockney, and again, I should have been on little pee-wees running around, like not knowing which way to run on the field, but he puts me, he's going to be with your brother. He tells the coach, be with your brother. And my brother played halfback. My father says, Dennis is a halfback, you're going to play halfback. But I didn't get to play much, but there must have been some hidden code or rule that when we practice, don't hit Jerry, just push him over. So I didn't really know what it was all about in the game, because again, I was young. And then I would sit the furthest away on the bench, and I would be freezing in the winter. And my father would show up, same thing. And he stood on the hill. We had this German Shepherd, Heidi. And he'd stand up there, and he knew that my brother would be scoring touchdown. He has a trophy now. Well, he did back then. It was like bigger than him. And I would then start praying, like, Dennis, don't get any more, touchdowns. Stop. So then it would be a point where we're way far ahead. My father would give the nod, I went in to play. Now, I had the cleanest uniform, looked like Mr. Clean, beautiful uniform. I go in, and I was very good at knowing the plays, and so I knew the plays inside out. So the first time I go in, the ball's to me. So I go running through the hole, I got crushed. I was like, whoa, this is not what I signed up for. I didn't get hurt. And then again, so the next ball, they said, okay, we're gonna give it to Jerry, you're gonna run around the outside, and they throw me the ball, and I'm running, and I see these gorillas running at me, so I started almost running the other way. And I just ran out of bounds, and the only thing I could do is I looked up at my father up on the hill, and I could see him laughing, like, oh, he thought this was great, right? So at the end of that game, I said, I'm not playing this game anymore, right? Anyway, because I'll finish out the season. So we went to basketball. Basketball, I loved it. I really, at this point, I thought I was an athlete. I didn't think anything about CF. CF I had, and I was never in the hospital. So we played basketball, and I wasn't very good, but I'd run up and down the court, I'd be coughing, and I'd get a couple of baskets here and there. So I went to high school. So I figured, well, I'm a basketball player. And again, remember, I'm still little. This was like in grammar school, like a little bantam B and A. So I try out for the basketball team. And, they put your name up on the list to say if you made the cut and whatnot. So I look at the next day, the first day of cuts, and I'm looking up on the list. I'm like, where's my name? I don't see my name up there. So this other punky kid says, if your name's not up there, you didn't make the team. So I'm like, oh, so I didn't make the team. So everybody in high school back then, I think it's pretty similar now, if you don't make the team that you want to go on, they gravitate to cross country. Because they don't cut anybody off cross country team. You just go up, you show up, and you run. So I thought, oh, well, I'm on a team. I made a team. This is great, right? Now with cross country, there's three groups. One group are those people that are really kind of elite runners. They go out and the coach will say, okay, go out and do the bridge and back, or which is a 3-mile run, or do whatever the run is. Then they're like, you're starting, and they're almost on their way back. Then there's the other group that really want to be good, but they're not at that level. Then there's the third group, which is kind of the geeky kids. Then they want to have something on there. They're already thinking of their resume for college, that they're in this group, and I fell into that group because I was not a good runner. We'd go out. All they would talk about is the homework assignments, who do you have, what's the this, the that. And I would be out there coughing and just spitting up all over because of CF. And they'd say, what's wrong with you? Oh, I have like asthma and bronchitis. Oh, okay. That was it. They didn't care, and that's what I did and said, and that was the end of it. But again, unbeknownst to me and my family, it was the best thing because I was coughing, I was keeping my lungs clear, and I felt good about myself. So I, from there, went on to pole vaulting, did quite well, and jumped over 16 feet. My best was 16.3. But the point I wanted to make, though, the most important thing here is that the importance of exercise, because exercise is the single most important thing in my life that's kept me healthy and alive to age 50, 55 before transplant. And I know that for a fact because when I graduated college, and I became very, type A personality. I had a job. I used to work 12 hours a day. I was a sales assistant, sales trainee. And I stopped exercising a lot. I became like this weekend warrior. Within 6 months, I was so sick, and the doctor said, well, Jerry, I think you're gonna have to go in. I said, oh, I can't go in the hospital. No, you go in, you get a tune-up. This is this word, you get a tune-up. And I said, a tune-up? He goes, yeah, you'll come out and you feel great. We clear up your lungs. So it sounded like, wow, a car, you get a tune-up, it's great. So I go into the hospital for my first tune-up, right? And I was at the time 22, just turned 22, I think, and had no clue what any of this world was about. So I'm in the room this first night. The next morning, well, first of all, the little IV thing infiltrated, but I thought this was part of the game. My hand was swollen up. The next morning, people kept walking into my room and like peeking at me, and some would wave and just smile and walk out. I thought, this is like strange, right? This is like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. So then the doctor finally comes in that morning around 11, and I said, there's something really strange about this. He goes, what's the matter? I said, well, these people keep coming in. I'm not sure if they're lost, but I'm the only one in the room right now. Oh, Jerry, don't worry about that. Those are parents of people with CF, and they've never seen somebody as old as you. I said, old? I'm 22. He goes, yeah, they just, they have young daughters and young sons and stuff. Anyway, that's when I got into that whole mode of, I had a roommate who had CF. Yeah, the physical therapist would come in, would bang on me, bang on my roommate, and coughing all over the place. I mean, that's how it was back then. So it was a little strange, but the advances that have taken place over the years are unbelievable. So my first hospital stay was quite daunting, but once you start, it's kind of a never-ending process that you go on and you go on and you have more hospitalizations. The best thing is now is that they do home care, because being in a hospital obviously is not the most healthy environment with germs. You can eat a lot better at home, and I personally believe that I can take a lot better care of myself at home. And when I am at home, even on IVs back before transplant, I would exercise. I'd go out and run. And it was amazing because that's how important I knew the exercise was. It was like the dam broke. I went out jogging once when I was home on IV therapy, and I was like this rumbling, and all of my lungs just started to clear up with all the medication. It was better than the postural drainage and all of those kind of things. Not that we should not do them, I do that also, but it was the exercise has really cleared up my lungs in a major way. Now, with CF, growing up today with CF, it's like a whole other world. People are living longer. They're going away to college like it's kind of a norm. They're starting families, they're dating, starting families and whatnot. Back when I was, there was not a discussion. I mean, people were not, when I remember, I could think back of some of these stories in the hospital. There was one patient there that his IVs weren't working, all that, he'd do intramuscular shots of these huge syringes of the medications, and he was crazy. He'd be like, oh, we're all gonna die in here. It was like really cuckoo's nest, okay? So things have gotten a lot better, the drugs, the technology. I mean, when I grew up with CF, my nebulizer was a DeVilbiss handheld little device with a bulb on it, and I'd push the bulb and I'd get a flicker of mist, and I would inhale mucomist. My enzymes were all powdered stuff, and it was all just postural drainage. And that created major fistfights in my house because I grew up, my father worked, my mom would be home and cooking, and she did, but she taught us to be very independent. So it would start a whole thing where, okay, Eddie, do bang on your brother's back, do the postural drainage. And he didn't want to do it, so he started smacking me. And this I remember, we would be playing that game with the hockey where you have those little sticks and you pull them and twist the hockey man. So he would start banging on me, and I would say, it hurts, don't do it that way. And then my brother Kevin, right below him, would say, get out of the way, I'll show you. So he'd start doing it, I'd say, no, you're not doing it right either. So my brother Dennis, the one above me, the one who played the football player, he was the fighter. He would grab them and throw them out of the way. He says, I'll do it. But in the midst of all of this, they'd start fighting. The three older brothers, they ended up breaking the hockey game. And my father came home. It was insanity growing up with some of those things. But really, as I said, it was kind of crazy. And I used to sleep in a tent called a mist tent. And you filled it with propylene glycol and this big contraption. It cost a lot of money. And the four of us shared a bedroom. So we had 2 sets of bunk beds. So every Saturday and Sunday morning, we would take all the blankets and the sheets and we'd play cowboys and Indians and make forts with the bunk beds. And my mother would freak out because we'd be ripping all the sheets because we'd have fist fights. But this big mist tent was like the major part of the fort. And they used to love going in there, and it blew mist, but you would get wet. Since then, they found out it wasn't a good device to use, so they got rid of that. Anyway, there's been a lot of changes, and a lot of people still have a lot of breathing issues and infection. I mean, just, Kim, my heart goes out to you and your son. It's like, I hear a lot of these stories on a daily basis, working at the foundation, because I get a lot of calls from CF moms and dads and, from patients. And I mean, you know, I could sit here and tell you stories. It's you know, sometimes it's so difficult. I don't even want to get friendly with people with CF because I've heard, you know, some of these stories, and friends that I have on Facebook that then they want to FaceTime and chat, and I do it, but I'm at the point now, it's like because I've lost so many people that I've, you know, become friends with. But the quality of life for people with CF is definitely a lot better. We've got to keep fighting. To me, a little saying that I kind of live by, and I've lived by all my life, is it's called the fighter's creed. And it goes like this: life is a fight, round by round. I have the choice to fight or quit. I'm responsible for the direction of my dreams. I will work and I will keep going no matter what. From this day forward, I choose to fight. And to be honest with you, that's really something with cystic fibrosis that we all have to keep doing. You know, it's a fight. It's a battlefield 24/7. Just when you think everything's going great, all of a sudden you get smacked with something else. I mean, you know, if I didn't have a transplant, I would not be here today. My lung function dropped to 21%. But I was able to sustain myself because I fought and I fought. And I was lucky, I will say that also, but I ran a few marathons. They weren't fast, but I trained hard. I weightlifted and do a lot of that stuff to try to stay healthy. But if I didn't have a transplant, I would be gone 3 years ago. I waited over a year for a transplant. Transplant, as the doctor said, is not a be-all, end-all cure, but it is a very promising area that should be looked at. So what was my choice? 3 years ago, die or have a transplant? Right now I have 3 more years of my life. My lung function right now, my FEV1s are 107%. When I had a transplant, right before transplant, they were 21%. They vary between 18 and 21%. So I am a big advocate of transplant. It is not a be-all, end-all cure. I don't suggest everybody and his brother jump on the bandwagon for a transplant. But the results are getting better, and to be quite honest with you, with all of the research that's going on with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, which is amazing, I think their next step should be to do a lot more research in the area of transplant, because to be honest with you, the biggest problem post-transplant is not your lungs a lot of times, it's the anti-rejection drugs. And I know there is some research out there about some stem cell things and bone marrow, putting it into, you know, the donor and whatnot, and there's a long way off from that. But I can say for myself that I have 3 more years so far added on to my life because I had a transplant, and I wouldn't give that up for anything. So You Cannot Fail basically is about you cannot fail. You are the hero of your own story, no matter what that story is. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to run a marathon with cystic fibrosis. If you can get up in the morning and you can walk around the block and you feel good about yourself, then that's a start. And that's what's important, to empower yourself, to feel good about yourself. And that's something at the foundation that we are really starting to push and believe in. It's not about how many people can go out and afford to buy Armani suit or something. It's probably 3-4% of the population. How many people can afford to go out and, you know, buy it, you know, I don't know, Structure or what is this, Banana Republic? A lot more, much bigger percentage. And it's the same thing with cystic fibrosis now with us at the Boomer Esiason Foundation. We want to appeal to more of the masses, so we're advocating for other people to say, hey, you know, I'm a superhero because I ate all my vegetables today. All of that, because that's important. You know, people with CF do need to gain weight, but we don't want to keep pushing milkshakes into them and all that stuff, which a lot of it's not healthy. So we're promoting a lot of healthy living at the foundation, and we're some programs that we are coming out with within the next few months that will be really positive and uplifting. We have a program called True Heroes right now. It's about teaching, respecting, and understanding others in life, no matter what that issue is that you have. And we have young boys and girls right now that are out, and their parents are sending us pictures of them wearing a cape and making their own capes. And that's really important in life because they feel good about themselves. So for me, you know, I look forward to today, tomorrow, and next week, and next year, and hopefully 10 years post-transplant. So I wanted to thank all of you for your time and listening to me. Does anybody have questions? Or, I don't know if we're doing questions, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, yes.
Yeah?
Thank you for sharing your story. I was wondering what mutation.
I'm a Delta 508 and an R117H. Yep. So if I wasn't transplanted, I could be in the, I think there's a study now, they just finished it with that mutation for Vertex, but yeah, post-transplant, that is going to happen.
Can you explain, because I know not everybody here knows, but when you have a transplant, you still have CF. A lot of people don't know that.
Yes, when you have a transplant, you still have CF. I still take enzymes. It affects my pancreas. I've had some liver damage from cystic fibrosis. So that's my biggest concern and problem now with the doctors, is that I have, I have nodules in my liver, and a lot of that's from CF. So that's, another hurdle that we are trying to overcome. But yes, I still have CF. I don't do all the medications. I don't do aerosolized medications. I don't do postural drainage, flutter, any of those things. I do occasionally have to go on IVs, because when you have a transplant, you're put on a very, very tight leash. So if I feel like I'm getting a cold, I have to go right into the doctor and get swabbed to make sure there's no issues. And if there is an issue, that they will, start IVs. IVs are a little bit more difficult for me now if I have to go on them, because I don't have a port anymore. And I had a port for years. That was like the best thing in the world. I could just start IVs any time of day, night, or whatever, as long as they delivered the meds. But I have CF. I do use some of the same medications if I do go on an antibiotic, IV, Mirum, tobramycin, Ceftaz. So it's the same stuff. But yeah, I take Creon, and yeah, it's the same, except, and you take more pills probably. You take the anti-rejection drugs. Part of that anti-rejection drugs is you take 5 milligrams of prednisone a day, but it hasn't made me bloated at all. But yeah, it's a reinvention of yourself and what you have to do. I mean, every part of life is a reinvention. I had a phenomenal job working for a company called Joseph Abboud. I was a vice president. I had to stop working when I was being promoted to senior vice president, where I would have stock options in the company and everything. Because of my health, I was on the transplant list. So it's like going into a candy store and they say, oh, look around, this is great, but you can't have any. So I reinvented myself, because I was then obviously on disability, and I started doing some work at the Boomer Esiason Foundation, and Boomer and the foundation have been great. They've empowered me to do a lot of things, and it's nice to have that kind of that safe haven or place to go. Because once you go on disability, like, what do you do? So you reinvent yourself, and after transplant, it's another reinvention. It's a reinvention. A lot of friends you had before transplant, a lot of them aren't there. There's a lot of things that change, but it's all about the cycle of life and reinventing yourself. Yeah?
I just want to say, from the CF Foundation standpoint, we did announce in March that we are doing research, which I'm really glad about, because I have a lot of friends who have transplant. And we're looking to, right now, the life expectancy, I think, is 5 years. We're looking to extend that out to at least 20. So
great.
There's new research that is being done for transplant for the first time. And
that's perfect. Yeah, that's great news. Thank you. Any other questions? I know it's getting late. Okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciated your time. Have a good evening.
Coop's going to wrap it up in a minute and finish the drawings and everything, but I just want to say thank you. Thanks to everyone for speaking, Dr. Doty, everybody that came from Lisa, everybody that drove from Lansing, Ann Arbor, and all of that, and flew from New York City. Bob Wild and Jerry Cahill. Bob first told us about the importance of working out, which I've instilled in my girls since they were little, since we met Bob. And the advice that Jerry's talked about for all of our kids that have CF, that is the biggest, most important thing. And you're so inspiring, whether on Facebook or in person or wherever you are. I just want to thank you for inspiring my kids and everybody that's here, because I know so many people wanted to come see you. And that's the way it should be. It's so much about attitude. It's about all the mottos that you have and that you put on Facebook. It is so much about attitude, and I just appreciate your attitude and Bob Wild's attitude and everybody else. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate all your time, and Coop's going to wrap it up.